I always was going to be a chef. There was never a question about it. I think my dad actually identified that I had this natural love of food. He planted the seed and they sat back and watched it grow. I used to go down there every day, and I think they just got so sick of seeing me that they ended up just saying, here you go, Vanessa, we're not sending anyone else to the interview, it's all yours. It was tough. I mean, we didn't have the rights that apprentices have today, and I'm thankful that we have all of the rights that are in place today. You know, I've done a lot of learning over the years on managing different personalities and managing people. Haven't always been successful, I'm not going to lie. I think that's probably been my biggest learning curve. It's a really hard profession for females if you're trying to manage the kitchen and families. There's a much greater variety of products now. Hey, look, if you want it, you can get it.
Right.
I'm not a creator. Like, you can see some chefs that are incredible chefs with their creation. I can run a kitchen.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and another episode from Passion to Profession. I'm your host Vaidehi, and today we have a special guest. She has an experience of over 30 years in the food industry. She started as an apprentice chef and now she is a co-founder of a leading hospitality company in Australia. Let's welcome Chef Venessa. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, it's
wonderful. I just love this. This is amazing.
Yeah, I'm so glad you liked it. But before we jump into the real questions, when did you first realize that you love cooking and you wanted to become a chef? I'm really keen on knowing that.
Are you? Gee whiz, I'm getting really old and I'm starting to forget things, but I can share with you. I always was going to be a chef. There was never a question about it. My family owned hotels, pubs. I was known as the pub kid. And we had counter lunches. I used to help my mum. Food was just always a big part of our family. And I think my dad actually identified that I had this natural love of food. So he planted the seed and they sat back and watched it grow.
Oh, okay. And let's go back to 1991.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll give you a second for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you started as an apprentice, right?
I did. I think it might have just been a little bit before that, but if you're looking at my LinkedIn profile,
because I
just
stalked you on
can't
LinkedIn.
remember those things. So I might have just put 1991 because no one really looks that far back. But it was around then. I left school in year 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to school up in Maitland at Maitland Girls High School.
Okay.
And back in the day, chefing was quite a sought-after profession. So trying to find an apprenticeship was really difficult.
Okay.
We didn't have the shortages that we have today. They didn't have any jobs. So you needed to know somebody that knew somebody. And I wanted to be really selective as to where I started my apprenticeship. So I pounded the pavements day after day after day. And back in those days, Centrelink wasn't how we know Centrelink to be today. It was, I forget the name of it, but anyway, they used to put these cards up on a notice board with the jobs that were advertised. And I used to go down there every day, and I think they just got so sick of seeing me that they ended up just saying, here you go, Vanessa, we're not sending anyone else to the interview, it's all yours. So yeah, I went out and started I had the interview at the Branxton Inn, which is at Branxton. And that was the start of my chefing journey.
That's beautiful. I mean, that's actually something different. I mean, to get a job back then, it was no, you don't have to log into a LinkedIn profile.
Nothing. They didn't even have computers back then.
Yeah, exactly.
That was like something foreign that they used to have like a computer course at school and nobody did it because it just wasn't the cool thing to do.
Okay. Oh, it wasn't a cool thing to
do? No.
So who, the kids who took it, they were nerds or geeks?
I didn't even know because they weren't in my friend group.
Okay. But what was the atmosphere back then in the kitchen? And what does an apprenticeship mean?
Look, if you're talking about 30 years ago compared to today, they're very different, I feel. We really did get brought up through the hard knocks, if you like. It was tough. I mean, we didn't have the rights that apprentices have today, and I'm thankful that we have all of the rights that are in place today to protect apprentices from, being overworked and all the rest of it. But we didn't really have that back then. We had to be strong. So, I wouldn't change anything. I loved my apprenticeship, but we really were taught the French way of doing things, and that was instilled in us. So we were authentically French trained.
Oh, like any reason why it was like
well,
that?
That's where the curriculum was, and that's where, that's where chefing kind of came from, was from France.
Okay. And like, did you have any role model or any mentor when you started this journey?
Not really, to be honest. Not during my apprenticeship. I was young and just living life, and I don't even think that I really realized what mentors were back then. It wasn't really a word that was thrown around.
Right.
Later on in my career, I've definitely had mentors, but back as an apprentice, not really. I just knew what I didn't want to be.
Oh, I mean, so you were like training yourself to what you didn't want to be.
Yeah, so,
that's a brave thing to do.
Well, there was a lot of bad behavior,
Yeah.
and I was just, not ever going to become that person.
Yeah.
I didn't find it a nice feeling to have yelling and screaming and throwing of anything. I was just never going to become that person. So I kind of, probably looking back on it, realized what I didn't want to be as opposed to what I wanted to be.
Right. And like how these experiences back in, like, as you mentioned, that you didn't have any mentor or any person who particularly influenced you. You learned it all by yourself. So all these learnings, did it help you through the commercial kitchen, like in those days?
So when I say that I didn't have mentors, I mean, we had TAFE.
Oh, yeah.
So that was compulsory for us. We had to go to TAFE one day a week, and we created a nice little safe community with the chefs and apprentices I was going through with. And, I went to Newcastle TAFE, and I had wonderful TAFE teachers. So looking back, they were probably my role models, to be honest with you. I really aspired to be like them, and I just thought they were the bee's knees.
Yeah. And like you moved, right? It was a long journey, I'm sure, like from the apprenticeship to the executive chef. How was
gosh, that was a long time because I had children in between, and I took time off work while I had children. My husband, one of my husbands at the time, we had businesses together. So, we had the children, and then we had our own business. And I don't want to skip too far ahead, so we can come back to that
of
part.
Course.
But so it was a long journey, but that's the beauty of chefing. It never has to end.
Any particular kitchen or like a place of work that you remember till date? I mean, that was something that you took a lot of. I mean, it was a learning curve for you.
Yeah, look, I think I was actually part of a brigade that was put into the Mossman RSL, of all places. Their chef team had walked out, and this was later on in my career, and I was part of a brigade with Chefs on the Run that was put into the Mossman RSL, and I really enjoyed that time. It was good to be part of a team. It was secure work, and I worked with really good chefs, really great chefs.
What did the role look like? I mean, what did you guys exactly do? Like, because it was an RSL team, right?
Yeah, so we had an executive chef, and I can't remember his name. Like I said, I'm getting old.
That's fine.
So we all had our own stations, and we all had our area of the kitchen that we managed. And I've always kind of probably been a bit of a floater where I can adapt to different roles in a kitchen. Look, patisserie is not one of my favourite areas because I find that with patisserie you've got to be really exact and you've got to weigh things, right. And I'm just not that patient. So I'm one of these people that just likes to throw things in until it looks and tastes good and then it's right. Whereas with pastry, you've got to be really disciplined, and I'm just not that person. So I probably didn't spend as much time in the pastry section, but when it comes to every other part of the kitchen, I really enjoyed it.
And can you remember any particular challenges that you faced through this and that turned out to be good learnings that you still stick to till date?
I think probably management of people. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's definitely a challenge of a kitchen. So as you start to progress through your career, obviously your roles will progress as well. I've done a lot of learning over the years on managing different personalities and managing people. Haven't always been successful, I'm not going to lie. I think that's probably been my biggest learning curve. And if I could put what I know now back on my shoulders throughout my career, I think that would be a really good thing.
Yeah, I mean, of course, over the years, like with mistakes, you learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes when you're dealing with people that it's really important because you don't realize at the time the impact that it can have on a person through the way that you manage them. And one thing I've learned over the years is that everyone needs to be managed in their own unique way. And that's probably been the biggest learning.
Yeah. And did you still remember any particular manager of yours which you didn't want to be, or someone that you wanted to be like?
I've taken a bit of every manager I've had and worked with over the years and adapted all different kinds of skills from them. Having said that, I'm a pretty loyal person, so I haven't jumped around jobs.
Yeah.
I was, once I'd left chefing, I stayed in a role in sales for 10 years.
Oh.
And it kind of got to the stage where I either became institutionalized and limited my employability, because it's kind of like, well, I would have become so in tune with that company.
Right.
And I don't just go and work for a competitor. So I went sideways and worked for a producer, Game Farm. So and I was there for quite a while before I went into Australian Pork. So I think I've worked with some incredible people over the years. Incredible. I don't want to name them, because if I name them, what happens is I forget somebody and then I feel really bad later. So
no, that's all right.
I can only just say that every person that I've worked with over the years has left a mark on me in some way.
And was it difficult for you to leave the chef role behind and move to sales?
It actually wasn't, and I tell you why. Because I actually had breast cancer.
Okay.
So having 2 young children and having to, I couldn't continue on as a chef. So I think that life serves you up different challenges over the time so that you're not prepared, but things happen for a reason. And that getting out of chefing and moving into a sales role, and then less than 12 months later finding out I had breast cancer, in hindsight was the right decision to make.
And I mean, I'm sure you still are sticking to the decision that you made, that you don't regret it?
I've never regretted it, because I still get to work with the people that I love, that are true to the profession. And I get my inspiration. I don't want to go back into a kitchen. I actually went back into a kitchen after COVID. A friend of mine has multiple venues. Right. And because we had such a big skills shortage, I was like, I can do this. No problem at all. Put on the black jacket. I was all ready to go. And I nearly killed myself, honestly. I was on a wok. I'd never done wok cooking in my life. And in the heat and working, 14 hours of hard yakka, I was like, I'm really now decided that I have not regretted leaving the kitchen at all.
And as you mentioned before, that your parents had a lot of pubs and restaurants. Yeah. So, did you help them manage? Did you learn any management skills from
all
them?
of them?
Yeah?
All of them. My parents were probably my greatest. They were probably my greatest inspiration, my greatest role models. They both had balanced skills. My mum's a really hard worker. My dad not so much, but he was a really big thinker. So he was the manager side of the relationship, and my mum delivered whatever it was that his vision was, I guess. Yeah. If you want to talk in today's terms. Back then it probably wasn't like that, but that's how I would describe it. And I like to think that I've kind of tried really hard to take the best of both of them away and become Venessa.
That's beautiful.
Oh, I mean, thanks.
When we are in that age, we are always rebellious, most of us are. When we are teens or growing adults, that everything that our parents do, it's either like it's never perfect for us. We are always, nitpicking. But only when we start growing up, we realize, okay, these were the actual lessons that we wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And that sticks with us for a really long time.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I was probably a really boring child. I always had fun, but I don't think I was very rebellious.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a different time. But
Yeah.
absolutely, my parents definitely instilled, I think, the best of what I needed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I mean, being a woman, was it difficult back then? And like, have you seen things change over the time?
I actually was thinking about this question in the car on the way here.
Yeah.
And, I hear stories that other females share about the hard times they had, and I take nothing away from them. I never had any hard times. I never experienced bullying. I thank my lucky stars. I don't know whether it's because I'm a strong person. I don't know. But I've not ever really encountered anything that I can say was traumatic for me from a kitchen perspective.
That's actually, I mean, maybe you were lucky. Or was it same for all the women back then? Or
there wasn't a whole lot of us, to be honest. I think in my TAFE class, there were only 2 of us.
Okay.
Yeah, no, look, chefing was never huge female profession. There's a lot more females now, which is wonderful to see. But back in the day, chefing, I mean, you have children. Like, it's a really hard profession to try and balance with your family life, because we used to work split shifts. So, you'd be in there from 9 till 3 or whatever, and then be lucky if you got a break, and then you'd be back at 5 prepping and go through to the end of close. So it's a really hard profession for females if you're trying to manage the kitchen and families.
But I mean, I think the women are killing it now.
Women are absolutely making their mark, and I really think there's been some great females that have come through that have paved the way for the young emerging females chefs that have started to come through the industry.
Right. And like going back to your role as an executive chef. So how did you manage? I mean, the food industry has always been dynamic. The costs are always going up. The demand is always high. People are eating takeouts a lot. So how did you maintain that balance between quality and costs?
So you got to remember the time when I was chefing was a different time.
Right.
So, price was what you paid, but value was what you had.
Right. Okay.
So it didn't matter what the cost of the dish was. You priced it accordingly. We were doing different food back then to what we didn't have the multicultural side of food like we do today. And we used to probably grow a lot more of our own ingredients, and we used really simple ingredients. Like, we've got an incredible variety of ingredients at our fingertips now. We never had that.
Okay.
Never. I mean, if you wanted to add a Japanese, product to your menu, you just couldn't do it. You just wouldn't be able to get it. It was a very different time. So, and you got to remember, I was rural as well. Like, I wasn't in the city. So we just used really good quality products. And I think that what that perhaps taught me is that I'm naturally quite good when it comes to numbers. So I manage better than I cook, if that makes sense. I'm not a creator. Like, you can see some chefs that are incredible chefs with their creation. I can run a kitchen. So there's always 2 different sort of chefs. So I food costs were always very important to me, and I just made sure that I stayed within the percentage that I had to work with.
So you mentioned, right, they were really good quality ingredients back then. What kind of difference do you see now?
Oh, I think now is completely different. I think now, I think the quality, I think the products are better. There's a much greater variety of products now. Hey, look, if you want it, you can get it.
Right.
You know.
You name it, you have it.
You absolutely.
Yeah.
And and just having the internet and being able to go online and Instagram and all the rest of it, and to be able to see what other chefs are doing, whether it be in, you know, the Netherlands or whether it be in America or the UK or whatever, it doesn't matter. You can create through the inspiration that they've shared, and we can get the products for that.
Yeah, and you just like it's on a click. Just look up any recipe and you can just make it at. Yeah.
You can absolutely get, I mean, look, if you can't, then you can substitute it for something else.
Exactly. And I cook a lot at home. Yeah. So whenever I like look up at recipes.
I feel sorry for you.
But I love cooking.
I don't cook at home anymore.
I love cooking. That's like a therapy to me in a way. I mean.
That's because you're young.
Maybe, okay. And maybe because I'm just cooking for myself.
Probably. Yeah. That's it. I can't even. Yeah.
But like even now, every recipe has a alternative for a few of the ingredients. And and like any grocery store you go, you have everything. Yeah. Like vegan, vegetarian, plant, like you name it, they have everything.
Absolutely. And the ranges are just growing all the time as well. You know, I think that, as I said, we're such a potpourri of multiculturalism that those foods need to be made available, and they are.
Yeah. And which cuisine you were more like comfortable cooking?
French.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because you mentioned that you had French
That's
futures
how I was
in
trained,
taste. Yeah.
You know, so I was French classically trained.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were doing things like Chateaubriand and a lot of pâtés and parfaits and all the rest of it. So there was a lot of skill in what we did, and time and effort. Nowadays, you can buy it from some businesses as good as, some people will kill me for saying that, then what you can make it. Do you know what I mean? So the beauty of that is knowing exactly what your costs are.
Yeah.
We used to have no idea, really. I mean, if we were using a parfait and it got mucked up, we'd just start again. It didn't matter that you've just wasted all these ingredients. So, you know, it was just, it's just different.
Anything particular that you enjoyed cooking, or even now, like from the French cuisine?
Do you know what I loved cooking? I loved cooking offal.
What is that?
I don't know. I think I loved cooking it because people that would choose to eat offal off of a menu were people that really enjoyed something different that they wouldn't necessarily cook at home. Yeah. So we used to do some fabulous things with offal, and don't ask me one of them because I can't think right now. But we, you know, absolutely sweetbreads, you know, whatever it was, you just don't see it anymore. But I used to love to do offal.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I've come across that term for the first time.
Offal?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
OFFAL, offal.
Oh, and like, is it like a set menu?
So no. So offal is like all the parts of the animal that people don't want to eat. So like the brains, the tongue, you know, all of the just the different little fun bits, if you like the liver and et cetera, et cetera. When it comes to menus, I didn't really have a preference. I used to just create menus.
What is the most important lesson that you learned during your journey as an executive chef?
Gee whiz, that's putting me on the spot.
Or maybe an event that you still remember and you're proud of, and you took some learnings from that.
Look, I think there's been lots of events. Look, I used to get really excited when my food costs came in, to be really honest with you. So doing stock take was like a you know, I'd be like a nervous wreck, and then get my food costs and they'd come in, and that made me feel really good. But I think that I think just being in love with food, really, and loving to create and really taking what others were doing from around me and enjoying to see what they were doing. You know, I've not really worked with a lot of people that haven't loved what they're doing. Oh. So I think that's a real blessing.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you get the best out of what you do, if you love doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you made a significant shift from being in the kitchen as a chef to being a co-founder of your own venture. How was it like?
Oh my goodness, that's been a long journey in between, let me tell you. Look, I think COVID changed a lot of things for a lot of us, and I saw the people that I really cared about and the businesses that I have worked with over the years pretty much be just brought to their knees. And I've always had a long relationship with chefs, with producers, and with manufacturers. And I was like, during COVID, I just saw that the industry wasn't really talking to each other. There were a lot of international students that were here that didn't have any support. And I just thought, you know what, we can go through life and we can be taking all the time, or we can decide there comes a point in life where you want to give something back and to really just to be able to do what you really, truly love. And that's how I kind of started Food Logic, was to decide to work with people that I loved and to provide a work standard that was unique, that it wasn't like anything else in the industry.
Your experiences as a chef, as a person who was in sales for a brief amount of time.
Yeah.
All these experiences.
Marketing more than anything, but
Okay.
yes. So a big part of what I do now is marketing.
Okay.
I create events. You know what? It's about bringing people together through a shared love of food. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether it's, Knoxx Foods that has an ingredient, they're trying to find their audience. What does that look like? I'll find them for you.
Yeah.
You can introduce it to them, but I don't just bring you anybody. I know that these people will really appreciate
Yeah.
the ingredients or the product that it is that you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work.
And is there anything like that you learned about yourself and you were surprised by the fact about it, that once you started with this business?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I've really started to learn now is that when you go into a new business, you question yourself a lot. You think about the whole imposter syndrome. You are going to have to make money, otherwise the business isn't going to work. So it's a fair bit of pressure. And I think to start at a time that we had an industry that was in such turmoil was really scary. And look, I threw a lot of money, my partner and I, we threw a lot of money behind trying to validate the assumptions that we were making, as to our branding, or whether it be our messaging or whatever it was. And I think that we gave over too much of ourselves and had influence from the outside rather than just staying true to who it was and what it was that we created the business to do. I think we overcomplicated it. So I think that breaking all of that away now and coming back to the simplicity has probably been my biggest lesson. And it's interesting because a manager of mine, or a boss that I had over the years, he said, don't question your own ability, Venessa, in the very beginning. And I didn't realise that that didn't resonate with me until I'd already questioned my own ability, So I'm a bit risk adverse. I don't want to make mistakes, but sometimes in business you have to.
Yeah. The second name of it is risk for business, right?
As long as it doesn't cost you a lot of money, yes.
Yeah, of course. A good problem, as we talked about. Yeah, of course. It was quite a journey. You started as a chef. You started working with your parents, then as a chef, then moved to sales, and then starting in your own business. It might have taken quite an emotional toll as well through these transitional years. Did it leave a good impact, or was it challenging?
No. Look, there's been times that are challenging, and I think that everyone has that in life, but I think we just get on with it. Look, I'm a glass half full person. I don't dwell on the negatives. I really don't. I never have. I just find the good and I just head for it.
And I'm sure you must have really strong personal values which kept you going through, because you had a difficult phase of your life and then you kept on going. So where did these personal values were so strong? Did it come from your parents, or
it came from my entire family. The aunts, the grandparents, that's just who they were. They were good salt of the earth people.
So you just navigated through it by yourself?
Well, I think so. Yeah. as I said, I've always had a can-do attitude. I see a challenge as an opportunity. I never crumble, ever.
Yeah.
Failure is just not part of my repertoire, to be honest. I just
Keep on going.
Absolutely. And I always try and find a positive in anything at all.
That's a beautiful trait to have. I mean,
Sometimes it gets me into trouble.
yeah, but still, I mean, if you look at the broader picture, it's always a good thing to, dwell on the positives than on, picking on the negatives every now and then.
Yeah, I'm just not that person.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Because you keep
who
on
I am.
manifesting the negatives, then I feel. Maybe.
I feel if you,
Yeah.
I mean, look, some people, they like to sit in that space. It's just not my space.
Yeah. All these serious talks, but I heard that you adore your grandchildren.
I have the most beautiful grandchildren in the world, and you really don't want to get me started on that
No,
subject.
I would
'cause
love
we
to
won't
know.
Stop.
No, how old are they?
So I've got Taji, who's just turned 1,
Yeah.
and he's an absolute delight. And then I've got Josh, who's 7 months, and he's just absolutely gorgeous and coming into his own little personality now. So I have to say I'm at a point in my life now where it is all about family. It is all about the grandchildren, and I just want them to have the absolute best life possible.
And of course, being a mother is totally different. But when you become a grandmother, it changes
Yeah.
a lot of things. Has it influenced your personal life or your perceptions at work?
It actually has. I have to say that, look, I think it's been a bit of a perfect storm, to be honest. Where I am now in my life, I don't have the same stresses that I had before. You had to work to make money. You had to do this because of that reason. You had to do this because of that reason. I don't have any of that anymore. And that takes a little bit of getting used to. So I think that the first sort of challenge was when the kids left home. That was like, oh my God, now I'm an empty nester, and what am I going to do? And I think that I just think that you do get to a point in your life where, your life does change. And I think that I'm probably just at that point now where I actually stop and smell the roses. Once upon a time, I used to use every excuse as to why I was too busy to do that. Whereas now I just don't care about anything other than what I need to care about.
Yeah, finding joy in the little things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
surround myself with all the good things as well.
Any particular hobby that you have recently developed or discovered?
Oh, look, I'm all about the grandkids, to be honest. So whether it's
Their hobbies are yours.
they are honestly they are my hobby.
Yeah. And how did you? Because again, owning a business, running a business comes with a lot of responsibilities, and every day is different. How did you manage your family life? You bring a grandmother, bring a mother, and then an entrepreneur.
Look, it has been pretty tough, I have to say. I'm one of these people that doesn't like to say no.
Yeah.
So I do tend to take on too much. That's a skill that I've still haven't mastered, but
Oh my
I'm getting
God.
a little bit better at it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's been really interesting since COVID how businesses have really adapted to change, and they kind of went into the holding pattern, and then they went into the growth pattern, and now they're really going into the innovation pattern, and now they're going into the growth pattern. So just watching the way that businesses work, and this industry is everything's lastminute.com.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I love that term.
It is. It honestly is.
I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, you can have that
Yeah.
one. You can share it.
Yeah.
But it is. Everything's lastminute.com. So I think that, Vanessa, we need it, and we need it yesterday.
It's like the end of the world for
so
everything.
you'd be just working
Yeah.
7 days
Yeah.
a week, and don't get me wrong, in my business, I've done
Yeah,
that, and
yeah.
I have been doing that. And then I just decided to put somebody on who's just incredible, and she takes all the stress away from me. So now I have a lady that works with me, and I just adore her.
Yeah. What role does your family play?
They're my everything.
Yeah.
My husband, my kids, my mum, my aunts, they're just, and my grandbabies, they're just everything.
That keeps you going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
They're my reason why.
oh, that's beautiful. I mean, it's touch wood. It's lucky to have a family like that.
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah.
I feel like, as I say, you kind of get to a point in your life where that just comes.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of oh my God, I'm at that moment now. So
Yeah. And given the personality that you are, that you always try to look on the positives, maybe that's why you attracted so much of a good in your life.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Look, I don't really do enough sort of, the whole self, what do you call it?
Gloating?
No, the whole self, where you look back in reflection.
Yeah.
I don't tend to do a lot of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but it's just, I think you're such a beautiful personality, because it's just what, 2 hours that we met, but it feels so warm.
Good.
Yeah, it comes, and this energy is what I think kept you going through the years.
Yeah.
And helped you make the right choices.
Yeah, I think that, and I've got a guardian angel looking over me somewhere because, as I said, things happen for a reason. And they've definitely guided me in the right direction, which has been really, really amazing, I have to say. Because look, you know what? You can have those aha moments where you can go in a different direction, and that can actually define your life.
Yeah.
So I think having the gut instinct and also believing in that gut instinct to make the right decisions, it's just embedded in you. And I'd like to think that that's just one of the traits that came with my family.
That's beautiful.
As long as my kids have it as well.
Yeah.
I think they have.
Yeah.
And then the grandbabies might be like on steroid sort of, with the whole, they'll have guardian angels everywhere.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, the little ones, is there anything that their grandma cooks for them and they love?
Look, my grandbabies live in Newcastle and on the Central Coast, so I'll leave that up to my mum. She needs more time. She's got more time in the day than what I have, and she's an incredible cook. So she actually does all the cooking for my daughter and her family. Not all of it, but she does do a lot of food for them. Obviously, when we all get together, I love to spoil them through food. And, Taji boy, he just loves his steak. So, there's nothing like him chomping on a
Like a
lamb
true Australian.
cutlet. And we've just started introducing Joshy to solids. So he's still finding his feet, but he just loves his food.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, I think it's in the genes to love the food.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
As long as they do lots of exercise with it as well and don't take after their grandma. I'm a grandma, by the way, not a grandma. I'm a grandma.
Grandma?
I'm too
Okay,
young
that's
to
a
be a
cute-
grandma.
Yeah, so you have introduced 2 terms to us. Now we're going to put it in our dictionary. A grandma and a late.
Lastminute.com.
Lastminute.com. Yeah. I'm just going to hook on those terms now. And going towards our last section, as you look towards your future, and is anything more that you want to achieve in the career or in personal life? Maybe you want to travel. How do you see, what are you looking forward to?
Look, I look forward to weekends. I look forward to my grandbaby swimming lessons. I look forward to the hubby and I doing our trips. We do love to travel, and we've done some incredible trips together. We've actually got he's decided now he likes camping, so he's got all the gear and no idea. So, I'm not a camper. So we've kind of decided that we're going to meet in the middle. So we're going to Fraser Island. I think it's in early November. And we're going to go up there for 2 weeks, and we're going to stay at a resort. So he's going to have the fishing and the best of everything, and we're staying in a resort. So, I'd like to see more of Australia. I feel like that's definitely something I'd like to do more of, is to see more of Australia.
And when it comes to career, anything that...
No, not really.
Yeah?
Oh, look, I just enjoy. I just enjoy what I do. I'm not driven like I used to be. I feel like I've kind of got to a point now where I don't need to prove myself. I just don't. And I'm not saying that to be have an overinflated ego. I just don't. I really enjoy what I do. I do the best that I can do, and that's what I am now. I love to see the young ones, even chefs that I've known for years. I love to see them doing well. I love to see people living their best life.
The last piece of advice that you would like to give to the aspiring chefs or anyone who is just starting their life in a professional world?
I think keep learning. there's so much information now, and we have all these apps, we have all of these different platforms that we have access to, join the Australian Culinary Federation. And I don't say that lightly, and full disclosure, I do work with Australian Culinary Federation, but I work with them because I believe in them. I think that Karen Doyle is an incredible president. I think that the legacy that the Federation has is incredible, and the history. And I just think there's no other community like joining a chef's community. So it's like, join your communities, find like-minded people, build your support system, create your village, and just keep learning. Every day, learn something new.
And keep looking at the glass half full.
Absolutely. The glass has always got to be kept half full. You can't be going empty. It's just, keep that love cup happening.
Yeah. But it was such a great time chatting with you. I didn't even realize that we have been talking for so long.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah. I mean, we can keep on going. But it was an amazing conversation with you, and I hope to see you again.
Absolutely. You just tell me when, I'll be here.
Yeah.
I love this room. This is so, for those that are listening to us, it's a beautiful space that you've created here for the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, you are anytime welcome. The kitchen is open. You can maybe be a host someday on our podcast.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I'll
a guest
come in
hosting.
I'll come in and interview you. I think you've got an incredible story as well. And that's actually one thing I will add in the wrap up of this, is that it's really important to remember that everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And it's important to stop and hear and listen to people's story, because what that does is it creates a connection. If you don't ask, then you don't know. But it is just mind-blowing to me, the amazing people that we have surrounding us and tapping into their stories.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even when you and I started talking, and to know that you'd come from India on your own, you had one friend here and you're building a life. I just find that so inspiring, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, but with experiences like that you shared today, the generation that I come from, I think we learn a lot from these experiences. And some bits and parts of it just sticks onto us. And whenever we are in that, difficult situation, I think personally I always look back to such, insights that I've gained through the time. So it's really helpful to have such wonderful people around us, and I'm so glad that I had a chance to have this conversation with you.
No, thank you. I love it. I mean, I think it's really important we all pay it forward. So reach into your community, people.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this episode. We hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, just don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. Until next time, thank you.